On my back, a couple things to consider. One, always got to pay attention to which arm is over your shoulder, right? Almost always they're going to have one arm over your shoulder, and that's the one they're going to strangle you with. So you want to go the opposite arm, my left to his right, and get my thumb inside his wrist if I can, right? That makes it very hard for him to bring this arm across my neck. If he lets go and he tries to bring this arm across my neck, right, I have strength here to keep that hand down, right? And then I double up with the other hand, pulling down. Right. If I use this hand as my strong hand, he pulls his arm up, no, yeah, it's very hard for me to stop that with just one arm. Sometimes you can kind of peel it down a little bit, but usually you want to go in with the opposite hand because this is going to be a stronger frame against the strangle, right? So you're always defending here first, and then you have to figure out how to clear his foot, his head, and his hips, basically, right? You want to get your back to the floor. So if he pulls me to one side, right, on this side, his head is between my head and the floor. I have to beat his head. So I have to tuck my chin in, and then I have to drive with my legs to get my head to the floor. So now I have one thing on the floor. The next thing is I got to beat his leg, right? I got to beat this hook. So I got to get my leg back so I can clear the hook, and then point it up so it makes it harder for him to re-engage that hook. And then from there I have to start shimmying, sliding out to the side to get my back on the floor, right? Once I'm here, I'm not clear until this elbow is on the floor because he has to be behind my elbows to be on my back. So if he's still behind my elbow here, he can still climb up or pull me back, right? He's still on my back technically, right? So I'm not clear until I get my back on the floor and I get this elbow down on the mat. Now, he's off my back, but now I still have the problem with the mount, right? I have to start bringing my knee in if he starts climbing on top and try to get this knee in so that he's gonna come up into my half guard or my guard or something and not into a mount. It's all the same if he goes to the other side too, right? Right, pulls me to the other side. No. So right now, his head's gonna be on the top, so it's easier to get my head on the floor, right? But this sometimes makes it a little bit stronger of a strangle, and sometimes it leaves this arm exposed for him to start attacking this arm when we go to this side, right? But the same thing is true. I gotta clear this hook, pull my leg back, point it up, and then start to turn slightly towards him, really belly up here and try to get my hips to the floor, my back to the floor, and then now it's a matter of freeing this arm, which sometimes requires a little bit of work to get that inside, right? All the while, you have to worry about him coming up. So you have to have a strong elbow-knee connection here. He comes up on top, my knee is in my chest, right? And he's coming up into my guard if he tries to mount me from there. Right, so pretty basic stuff, but you always have to do that. Things to not do are to relinquish, right? Be like, oh, let me clear the feet with my hands. Start coming down here, right, where you just leave yourself open for the strangle, right? Always try to keep at least one hand here. If you need a little extra to clear a hook, make sure you're holding on with at least one hand. Don't give up both hands. But, be really, really smart about doing that, right? It's a little bit of a gamble anytime you take your defensive hands away from and start reaching for the feet. Try to clear the legs with your legs and not use your hands to do it, right? But the key thing is, especially when you go to this side, his head underneath me is going to always be a problem. So you really have to like crunch and pull your chin down towards your chest and then drive your head to the floor so he can't have that head on this side, because now it's very hard for him to strangle me here, right? Yeah, he can, even if you get that around my neck, even with the hand around my neck, because his head isn't on this side, he can't close the circle fully, right? So I can start to pull this down. It's risky, but I wouldn't recommend it. But right, if you're conscious about that, and you know that in order to close the circle around your neck, he's got to have the arm on one side and his head on the other, right? If I can ever get his head over to this side, even with a strong grip around my neck, it's gonna be very hard for him to finish a strangle here. It'll be uncomfortable, but because his head's on the same side of his arm, I'm relatively safe, right? If he ever puts his head back on this side, now I'm in trouble right now. Things get a lot tighter when he closes that circle around your neck. So always try to open up that circle, get his arm and his head on the same side. That makes sense, guys? Cool. So let's drill some back escapes. What are we up to? 3 claps?
Yes.
1, 2, 3.